Today, we are learning from the absolutely legendary Travis Barker from Blink-182. And specifically, I want to take, this is what everyone's wondering about. I want to take a look at who wore the mohawk better, Travis or me at 19 years old. Just kidding. In this video, we want to learn how he uses alternate backbeat placements to create grooves that are famously unique and at the same time, catchy and musical. And of course, we're going to learn how we can borrow some of these ideas, channel Travis, and rethink our backbeats to make our own grooves more unique, more musical, regardless of the level of your drumming or the genre that you play. Let's dive in. I thought about saying here that all pop-punk drummers since Travis Barker are just doing a bad impression of Travis Barker, but that's not fair. However, the fact that that crossed my mind says a lot about how much he is responsible for mastering the sound that came before him and expanding it into new territory that then became recognized as quintessential pop-punk drumming. His drumming serves as a sort of archetype for the genre, and I would argue that this is because he saw his role differently from most drummers. You see, there is a difference between playing a beat that simply keeps time for the band, like you're the metronome, and playing drum parts that contribute significant musical content to the song, like where the drum part becomes essential melodic material without which the song would not really be that song. That is what Travis is a master of, and that is what we want to learn from Travis Barker today. I came of age in the self-titled era, and I think this is actually the best Blink album to learn this from. We're going to walk through several tracks on that album and look almost exclusively at the variety of alternate backbeat placements that Travis uses, and how these contribute to the uniqueness, the catchiness, the singableness of his drumming. Now first, what is an alternate backbeat? I keep using this term. Typically, backbeats fall on beat 2 and 4, but it doesn't have to be there. There are a handful of other places that are really common for backbeats that are not 2 and 4, and I call these alternate backbeats. And they are one of the most important creative levers that you can pull for making your grooves more interesting and unique, whether you're improvising or composing parts. And with that, let's jump on the kit and start learning. So the first song on this album is Feeling This. I remember learning this from my drum teacher when I was an early teenager when this song came out. It was the hardest thing I could play at the time, still an epic part. But let's take a look specifically at the backbeats when the verse comes in. So again, we're looking at backbeats that fall not on 2 and 4. And in this case, we do have a backbeat on 2, but then we have our first alternate backbeat. We have a backbeat that's an 8th note early. And we're gonna see that this is a very common type of backbeat. So we have the and of 3. 1, 2, 3, and. In the second bar, we have ka, ka. We have, instead of 2 and 4, we have 2 and 3. Boom, kitten, 1, 2, 3. And then we have the same thing in the second phrase here. But then we have our classic 2 and 4. We get back to our 2 and 4. Doom. So we go, if we start at the top here, doom, kitten, ka, ka, kitten, ba, doom, doom, ka. So you can take a look at each of these measures as a different, well, these two are the same, but as different backbeat ideas. You have an early backbeat, you have this slow double backbeat, and then you have back to the usual. So if we listen to that, here's what it sounds like.
I got no regret right now. I'm feeling it. The air is so cold and low. I'm feeling it. Let me go in her room. I'm feeling it. I gotta take off her clothes. I'm feeling it. Show me the way to bed. I'm feeling it. Show me the way you move. I'm feeling it. It's such a blur. I'm feeling it. I love all the things you do. I'm feeling it.
Second song is Obvious. We're gonna hear the slow double backbeat again in a halftime backbeat context, actually. That's a whole nother alternate backbeat. And then we're gonna also hear all four. So here we go. This is the beginning where the drums come in. Double backbeat. So we have 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then a backbeat on 3, 2, 3 again. Now here's all four. It's playing it on cross sticks, but the all four backbeat is often overlooked and is a great option. So we have regular 2 and 4, 2, ba, ba, double backbeat at the end that punctuates the phrase. And then we have some cool drum fill stuff. And then we're back to the That's obvious. The song is obvious. If you've been enjoying this series or any of the work I do here on YouTube, it's hugely appreciated if you like, comment, and subscribe. Now we have the song Violence, where we encounter our first delayed backbeat instead of early backbeat. Listen to this. It's that one. So it looks like this. On the page, you've got regular 2s and 4s, and then you delay one. 1, 2, bat, boom. Oh, wrote this wrong. This is the delayed backbeat. So every 2 bars, the last backbeat is delayed an eighth note. So we had an early eighth note. Now we have a delayed eighth note. So every one of these alternate backbeats that he brings in gives us something new, because if we're always just playing, then every song is gonna sound pretty much the same. And that goes for everyone who plays outside of pop punk drumming, right? If you're always playing, every groove's gonna likewise sound similar. So can we do a delayed backbeat? Can we do this, but in sort of like a groove context? Right, so that's the delayed eighth note, but at a slower tempo and in a groove context. And you can see it adds a little something nice. Now we're at the song Down. And here we get our first, this is a new alternate backbeat, our first 16th note early backbeat. This feels like an anticipation, an anticipated backbeat. So it's 1 again, So instead of 2, it's 1 16th note earlier, it's the So it looks like this. Boom, doom, and then we have a backbeat on 4. So and we're gonna just repeat that measure actually. So here's what that part sounds like. This is the intro and verse. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. And then when we get to the chorus, we get something totally different going on, but it is Travis does something interesting. He gives us one of the most common backbeat placements and then a weird one. That one's common. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and we're delayed an eighth note, but listen to the second backbeat. 1, 2, and 3E. Sorry, 4E, the E of 4, so we have 1, 2, and it's the and of 2, so we're delayed an eighth note. We've seen that before, but this specific placement, the and of 2, super common. 1, 2, and then he goes 4E, the E of 4. That is very interesting. And especially when you think, okay, pop punk, you kind of have this 2 and 4. It has to all sound the same. And here you've got Travis doing really different stuff. And it really contributing in a super obvious way to making this unique. This part especially, guitar and bass are really not doing much interesting or rhythmic, right? all of the interesting rhythmic material is coming from the drums by themselves. And that's what I mean when I say Travis is contributing, is like composing parts for the song that are essential to what the song is. Now we get to the Fallen interlude in the album, and we encounter the same early 16th backbeat that we saw in the previous song, but deployed differently in the phrase. So where we saw it was every measure. Now we're going to see it every other measure. Listen for it. 2, 4. Here it is. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and up. With the song Go, this is a kind of a simpler song with simpler drum parts, but still we have a couple things to think about. First, we have the all four, right? Sounds like this. Pretty straightforward, but again, this one gets overlooked a lot. And even if you're not playing punk rock, you're playing slow, groovy stuff, the all four backbeat can be exactly what you need to differentiate a section. And here we have some slow double backbeats. Listen for them. Yeah, they are. So he's just kind of spreading them out there in that song. I mean, if I listen back to it, I can actually tell better. Sounds like... Yeah, he's just kind of dropping them in, right? Right, those, I mean, he's got a pattern that he's sticking to, but even if you're not, it's some nice variety. And now to circle back to that all four backbeats thing, in this song, obviously we're doing like, but again, pop punk is not the only place that we do this. We want to borrow these ideas and bring them wherever we are. So if we're in, again, a funky kind of groove context, let's say, it doesn't have to be bashing in order for you to use the all four backbeats thing, right? So you can be... That could easily be a part, especially if someone else in the band is linked up with you on those quarter notes, like a guitar player going chink, chink, chink. That might make a lot of sense if we're trying to come up with unique and different part grooves for different parts. And then the last tune we'll look at is Asthenia. Asthenia, is that how you say it? Where we hear the delayed eighth note backbeat, but again, used in a different way. We heard it earlier where it was every measure, to get, or as I say, to get, with the E on 4, but now we have it every other measure. Listen here.
There will somebody listen.
And, or there it is, 2, 4, 1, 2, and, 4, 4, right? So, that groove is. Right, so taking the same alternate backbeat tool, but placing it in a context that is different for the rest of the phrase, in this case, 2 measures, gives us something that feels substantially different. And this is where learning a handful of alternate backbeats actually gives you way more than a handful of options. Because again, we can just repeat this measure of backbeats, or we can embed it in the full 2 measures, or this could be the one you delay, or this could be the one you delay, or this could be the one, or multiple of them could be what you delay. And those all give you essentially different beats and something different that you're bringing in to the music. So again, the idea of this series is not to learn exact beats. You notice as I was playing along, I don't actually remember the exact kick parts to a lot of these. The idea is to take some of these concepts and ideas and bring them into our own playing, whatever it is that you tend to do. So let's think about this in our playing, right? Let's take a groove, a really common groove, and think, what does it mean to play with alternate backbeats and get something different out of this? So let me start with, the quintessential groove, right? It's an eighth note groove, right? All right, we feel like we're always playing the same thing. We're trying to contribute something new to the jam. We could try something that's kind of jarring. The 16th note early backbeat. Maybe we want to be even more left field. It's the second one we're going to anticipate now. It's beat 4. That works. Maybe a delayed backbeat instead. Or instead, you know what? Instead of moving a 16th note early, an 8th note early. 3 and 4 and... Or it's the second backbeat, so it's the beat 4 is early. Let's delay it instead. Notice that one feels like it creates all this space in the groove. That's going to feel different for your bandmates. Maybe I'll delay beat 4 instead of beat 2. Right, so that's the kind of thing we could do with an 8th note groove. Let's take another groove just for fun. Let's take a 16th note groove. And explore some of the options. All 4. Okay, it's a pre-chorus. It's building up to the chorus. So we're going... That feels really different. Or I drop into a halftime backbeat towards the end of an 8-bar phrase. So all right, and then let's say you're actually playing a little bit more of like a jazzy kind of improvised thing, but there is a backbeat, right? So you're going... And so now we're talking about not necessarily composing a part, but bring this into our improvisation to make it more interesting. So I'm going to improvise the groove, but lock in a backbeat idea. And it's just going to be one simple backbeat idea. It's going to be that the 4th backbeat is a 16th note delayed. It's the E of 4. For E. So it'll sound like this. I'll do it really simple at first and then start improvising. And so now every time I'm hitting this one unique backbeat, and you'll notice that the backbeats on 2 and 4, they don't really register as events musically as you're listening. They just kind of pass by. They're keeping the time. And then you have this tum-ka, this offbeat E, this 16th note upbeat that feels, it's syncopated, it grabs your attention. That becomes an anchor. That becomes a piece of like musical information that has some real pull on the listener. So if I commit to that alternate backbeat change, that's an anchor that the audience is going to feel, maybe even notice explicitly, and that's something different. So now I'm moving away from just timekeeping into coming up with parts that contribute melodic material for the listener that are important. So a couple little examples, but the real question here, of course, is how do you take some of these ideas, the idea generally of how can I use alternate backbeats in my playing, and how do you bring that into what you do? So this is going to immediately open up some doors, but also challenge some of your habits. You'll find that your kick drum melodies are typically built around this reliance on 2 and 4. So if you start changing backbeats, you'll find that your kick drum might feel uncomfortable or, happily, might come up with new stuff really easily that fits into the new backbeat. So that's your challenge from this learning from lesson. Explore how these alternate backbeats, the idea of alternate backbeats in general, can bring your playing to new places. And of course, Travis Barker, thank you for the ongoing inspiration, for being an absolute legend. And thank you, viewers, for watching. See you in the next lesson.